Hi there guys and girls, and welcome to my final Mortal Kombat Conquest review. It's taken a while to get here, but we're finally at the last episode. And one thing about you got to give to Mortal Kombat Conquest is the last episode is kind of badass. And it's badass for a reason. It's badass, but it's kind of like, when you know why, it's kind of cheap. And the reason it's badass is that in this episode, essentially, the bad guys win. And that's something you don't really see a lot in TV, and it was kind of cool to see it. You know, to see the bad guys win, you know, and the only reason they did it was to end the show, and that's kind of the cop-out part of it, which kind of sucks, you know. But anyway, let's go through the episode, and then I'll give you my thoughts on Mortal Kombat Conquest episode number 22, Vengeance, which is a continuation from the last episode. So this episode starts with Raiden at the portal, as the last episode ended, and he's yelling, Sharkon! Sharkon! You know, and then he sees him and he says, you will bow to me. And then Raiden says, never! And that's one of the cool things about this episode, is that this episode starts and ends, the dialogue is pretty much Sharkon saying, you will bow to me, which is kind of cool. It's kind of bookended like that, you know. And then Raiden steps into the portal, and they kind of meet in this, like, what looks like just an empty room. So I assume it's like neutral ground. Sharkon and Raiden meet in this. They both come through, you know. And I think that's what they were going for in the episode. That's what they wanted you to think, is that they're on neutral ground. And then they have a whole lot of dialogue. A whole lot of banter. Sharkon's really, you know, he's really lost his mind, you know, and he's saying all sorts of things to Raiden, you know, and the episode pretty much goes on from there. Then we see the good guys back in Earthrealm, and there's all these earthquakes happening, the ground shaking, and you know, the sky's funny colours and everything, and they're worried that something really bad's going to happen. And then that's when Taja picks up this medallion off the ground, you know, which is like on a neck strap, and she says, "What's this?" And Zero says, "Oh, that's Kung Lao for winning Mortal Kombat." And I kind of like this. This is just the thing they threw in there, but this little medallion has you know, it's kind of got the best shot in the TV show. It's the final shot of the show, which we'll get to in the end.
You're right.
Yeah. This place isn't, though.
Yeah, big aftershock.
Third one. But the first quake wasn't enough. What's this?
It's Kung Lao's from winning Mortal Kombat.
Oh, good thing I found it. Would have been lost in this trash. Things are really weird.
Yeah, earthquakes and this heat. Strange for this time of year.
Everything's just a little out of whack. Even the sky is spooky. Colors I've never seen before. I don't like it.
You see the sky's funny colours, and Taja says something's not right, and Kung Lao shows up, and they said he can't find Raiden, and they're getting really worried. So then Kung Lao says he's going to go looking for Raiden. And then as we see a scene of him looking around, and then Katana approaches him and says, meet me over here, you know. And then he meets her, and she says, something's going on, you know. I'm being followed. And Kung Lao says, by who? And then this is a great line. She says, or by what? Because, as you know, in this episode, pretty much the Shadow Priests are hunting everybody, you know, and we don't know much about the Shadow Priests. And that's why I like the Shadow Priests. They're cool. Like, they're very mysterious. They have all this power. Their powers seem to transcend death, you know, they definitely don't seem to be mortal. They seem to be like on some sort of other plane. Like, where did the Shadow Priest come from? How do you become a Shadow Priest? There's a whole lot of really untapped story gold there with Shadow Priest that they could go. And it's funny, this started all from MK2, from just a floating monk in the background, you know. It's nice to see that they've evolved some of those things like that.
Katana, what are you doing here? Why didn't you come to the train?
It's not safe. I'm being followed. I can feel it.
Followed by who?
Or by what? I need to talk to you. You're not here. You look for me and Suzanne.
Sharkon?
Yes.
What happened?
It's what's about to happen. Something is wrong. There's a deadly calm at the palace. Servants sent away, extra guards posted. And he isn't in his throne room.
He's going to strike.
Yes, but I don't know where.
Then we see Vorpax. She's seducing Shang Tsung, and she finally gets what she wants. She gets Shang Tsung's cock. She wanted to breed with Shang Tsung so she'd have an army of warriors, you know, with the power of sorcery. And so she gets what she wants. Then we cut to Reptile, and he's pouting because he's lost his alliance with Kriya. And Sharkon now knows he's a traitor, and he's like, what the fuck am I going to do? And Kiri sort of talks him into still having an arrangement with Vorpax, even though you won't be a mate or won't be on the throne. We can still be allies, you know, and still save Zatera. And then there's that line from Reptile, which I really like too, which is, it's all we ever really wanted in the first place. You know, he goes through all this shit, you know, to save his realm, and that's pretty much, you know, Reptile's story, is that he's fighting to get his realm back that Sharkon conquered many years ago. So then we go, now we cut across to Quan Chi, and that's something that's great about this episode. This brings everyone in, you know, brings all the recurring characters in, you know, and you know, kills them all off pretty much. So we go to Quan Chi, and he's got a new slave, and straight away Xian's jealous, you know, and they're having this like back and forth banter, this cat fight, you know, you see this cat fight building, you know, and then Xian tells Quan Chi that Vorpax has a new mate, and it's Shang Tsung, and he's like, oh, Shang Tsung. Remember, like, Quan Chi and Shang Tsung hate each other, they're rival sorcerers. You know, Shang Tsung tried to kill Sharkon, like imitating Quan Chi, so they really hate each other, you know what I mean? It's quite of a deep hatred. Then we go back to Sharkon and Raiden at the portal, and they're finally talking, Khan's talking about the traitor. Who is this traitor? And he finally says it's Reptile, and then Raiden laughs and says, took you long enough to find out, you know, like, you know. And then he talks about Katana and all this. You can see that he's like, he's lost the plot. He doesn't trust anyone, you know, doesn't trust Katana, you know, a viper in my own palace, you know, all sorts of things, you know. So then we get the first fight of this episode, which we cut back to Kiri and Reptile, and they're talking, and then suddenly the Shadow Priest shows up, you know, and they have a fight with this Shadow Priest, and this Shadow Priest beats the hell out of Reptile and kills him, you know, breaks his neck. And you get quite a decent fight scene here, and that's something that's a bit inconsistent with this episode, is that it starts off really strong, this episode. The first few fights are really, like, good, and then some of them are really weak, and I'll get to that when I get to that. But this fight scene's, you know, it's not long, you know, because I didn't have the time to do it, but it's good enough, and the Shadow Priest fights Reptile, kills him, and kills Kiri as well.
I'll go to Vorpax tonight.
So we're like, oh, you know, the first time I saw this, I was like, shit, what's going on? You know, this is hardcore. They're killing off some of their big player characters. Then we cut back again to Sharkon and Raiden. They're still in this void, and more banter, more, you know, back and forth. And then Sharkon has this great line that all sins must be paid for, you know, which is awesome, you know. And this is what's going on as he's speaking, you know. We've already seen the Shadow Priest take out Reptile, Kerry, and, you know, we've seen a Shadow Priest following Katana as well. So then we get fight number 2. This one I really like. So Katana shows up at the Temple of the Order of Light. She told Kung Lao to come. She told Kung Lao to also bring Taja and Siro because no one's safe. So they showed up at the temple, and then Katana's there and she goes, stop, and she pulls out her fans straight away, and the Shadow Priest shows up in the temple, and straight away the Shadow Priest does some weird sorcery. He sends like some sort of like, you know, it looks like a force field that blocks Kung Lao, Siro and Taj, and they can't do anything. It looks like it's kind of like pushing against them, like pushing them back, and they can't get away from it. And while this is going on, Katana has this fight scene with the Shadow Priest, and she's going with the fan. She even throws the fan into him, and he just pulls it out, you know, does nothing to him. And they grab Katana and they kill her, like, you hear her scream, ah, you know. And then they all disappear, leaving Siro, Taja and Kung Lao there. And then they're like, you know, they're really worried now. They know something's going on. They've seen it, you know. So Vorpax now shows up at Quan Chi's fortress, and Quan Chi's so mad. You know, you teamed up with Shang Tsung. And then Vorpax says, I just needed him. I needed an army. It's just temporary. She goes, I'll mate with you, and I will be, you know, me and you will team up. You know, I don't care about Shang Tsung, which makes him very happy, you know. Again, we go back to Raiden and Sharkon, or having the back and forth, you know, and basically, you know, Raiden's like, is that your plan? Lash out at everybody who hates your guts, who has something against you, which is like everyone, apparently. Everyone hates Sharkon. He's the ultimate warrior. He's the ultimate warlord. He's the ultimate emperor. He crushes realms. He doesn't care. He does whatever the fuck he wants. You know, the only person who I'd say is really faithful to Sharkon is Rico. You know, and you got that in the few episodes back in that episode. But even Rico's loyalty was shaken a bit when he questioned Sharkon. He said, I know this man is innocent. I request that you release him. And Sharkon killed him. And you could see the look on Rico's face. He was a bit scared. You know, he doesn't want to go against Sharkon. He wants to be loyal. He is loyal. But, you know, you continue to do things like that, you could tell Rico would probably walk away from Khan, or try and walk away at least.
Katana.
Where is she?
I didn't know. She said she'd be here. She must be around here somewhere. Katana.
Stop.
So then we go back. This is a great scene to Quan Chi, and Quan Chi's talking to Cian, and remember, Cian's the assassin of the original 3 of Mika, Sora, and Cian are the 3 original warriors. Mika and Sora aren't in this episode. It's just Cian. But Quan Chi's talking to Cian, saying, "What, you don't approve of my new slave? You know that?" And da-da-da-da. She says, "Oh, she doesn't really use her head like that." And then she says, "Oh, well, she's made this beautiful meal, you know." And there's all this food on this table. There's this pot dead center, and he picks it up, and it's just her head there, like on the table, like. And he just looks at it and puts the thing back down. And then the Shadow Priests show up at Quan Chi's fortress. We have a fight scene with Cian and Quan Chi, and they're fighting. You know, Cian gets killed off, and then Quan Chi does his usual thing where he tries to teleport and get out of there. And this is very, very cool. I really like this. And this is where Conquest did some things really well. Is Quan Chi goes to do his teleport, and the Shadow Priest straight away hits him with some sorcery. I'm assuming it's sorcery, right? And he turns like Quan Chi's souls into cobalt. Now, as you know, cobalt weakens most people who have powers, and that's why Sharkon imprisons all the people of Outworld, all the people who defied him in the cobalt mines, because they lose all their powers. The only person that this didn't affect was Shang Tsung, and apparently it's because Shang Tsung's mortal from Earthrealm, cobalt doesn't affect him, whereas Quan Chi's not. He's not from Earthrealm, so the cobalt really affected him. And anyway, he was encased in this cobalt, which just cut off his powers. And he was just stuck there in rock. And then the Shadow Priest just killed him. Like, I thought that was really well done.
But why? The woman has initiative.
She doesn't use her head. I told you.
Tell Sharkon it will really be me next time, and I will kill him. Cobalt.
And that's the thing about this show, like, there was some ideas in it that were really good, and there were some that were just awful. Like, with a bit of a bigger budget and things like this show could have been a lot better. If they'd have made the show today, it would be awesome. You know, even if they suddenly announced we're going to do a Conquest Season 2, like today, I reckon it'd be really good. You know, with a bit of a better budget. And think of it like this too, right? Mortal Kombat Conquest had a lot of faults. You know, it was a bit corny at times. The production was cheap, you know, but it was an enjoyable show. When you compare that to what we got later, Mortal Kombat Legacy, which they didn't even fucking finish, I think I'd take Mortal Kombat Conquest over Legacy. Legacy was enjoyable, but it went nowhere. There was no point to watching it. At least Conquest had a full season with a start and a finish. No, they didn't even bother to finish Legacy. They haven't said why. They haven't said if they're doing another one. They keep talking about a movie. There's no concrete proof of a movie. They've been talking about a Mortal Kombat 3 movie since fucking 1999. That's 16, 17 fucking years that I've been waiting for a third movie. You know, so the more they talk about a movie, the more I just think it's bullshit until I see something concrete. You know, even this James Wan wants to produce the Mortal Kombat movie. That's not concrete for me. No one's backed it up. No one's backed it up from Warner Brothers. There's no listings on IMDb. There's no casting. There's nothing. It's all rumours. You know, so going back to Conquest, you know, at least Conquest was a full show. At least they did it. You know, it was unique content. It had some decent writing on it. You know, sometimes the dialogue was awful, sometimes it was great. You know, that's the problem with Conquest. It was never consistent. It was either good or terrible. Like there wasn't really much middle ground. So then our mortals, Zero, Taja, Kung Lao, they don't know what to do now. Katana's dead, Raiden's missing, so their only hope is to see someone else who has powers. So they go looking for Aegis. Now, Aegis was a character played by Angelica Bridges, who was apparently she used to be teamed up with Shang Tsung, and she studied you know, using potions and magic, and she wanted to beat mortality. She wanted to live forever and be immortal, but she learnt a really bad lesson about that, and so she's kind of come twisted now. She keeps saying to Kung Lao, you know, lose the next Mortal Kombat, don't be immortal, you know, die, you know, die young, all this stuff. She says being immortals, you know, it's awful. You don't age, you outlive all your friends, you know, etc. So they go to see Aegis, and they find her, and she says, can you help us? And she says, it's great, can you feel it? Death is in the air, you know, death's coming for us all, and you know, but she agrees to help them a bit, so she comes along with them. So then we go back to Vorpax, who has her time with Shang Tsung. I know I mentioned it earlier, but she was just seducing Shang earlier, and this was it. This was the actual, you know, Vorpax gets laid now. She gets her wish. She gets her army with Shang Tsung. And not long after this, we get Shadow Priests that show up in Vorpax's camp, and they attack Vorpax, the Shadow Priests, and Vorpax is no match, and she gets killed pretty much straight away. And that's, you know, one of the things about Conquest. Vorpax was never the biggest, strongest fighter, but, you know, she calls the guards and that, but they don't come, and, you know, they kill her pretty quickly, you know, so. This is what I was saying about consistency. Some of the fights in this are good, some are just, you know, real quick and over too quickly, you know. But the worst one's coming up. We'll get to that in a minute. One of the greatest lines in this episode, it's Raiden vs Sharkon, you know, and Raiden says something like, you know, people try and take you down all the time, you know, people try and conquer you all the time, and then Khan says, that's true, and they all lie dead.
I maintain my power, but forbidden to enter Earthrealm. You are free to enter Outworld at any time, but you lose your power. You've become another pathetic mortal.
You've survived longer than anybody has a right to.
Not just survived, Raiden. I have grown more powerful. My realm is the greatest force in the universe.
And there isn't a soul in Outworld who wouldn't slit your throat given the opportunity.
Many have tried. And they all lie dead.
You know, so we can really see that Sharkon's really, you know, he has all this dialogue with Raiden. He's really trying to disturb Raiden. But what he's really doing, and we're going to get to this later too, is he's distracting Raiden. He's keeping him here. He's saying all this garbage, and he has a reason for it. So we get our next fight, which is a great one. It's Shadow Priest shows up to take down Shang Tsung. And Shang Tsung, as you know, is a great fighter. Almost as good as Kung Lao. So we get a great fight scene here with Shang Tsung versus the Shadow Priest. You know, the Shadow Priest is kicking his ass though. The Shadow Priest is really beating him. And then we get probably another really cool thing about this episode. These little ideas, they could have been really expanded upon. They're so great. You know, and that's where Shang Tsung tries to take the Shadow Priest's soul. You know, and that's his craft. That's what Shang Tsung does best. Even if he's losing in the fight, he can do some weird fucking sorcery like that. And that's how he's able to, you know, he's killed innocent people in Earthrealm. He's just ripped their soul out of their body. So he's trying to do this to the Shadow Priest. And for a while, he's pulling the soul out of the Shadow Priest. The Shadow Priest goes down to his knees. And then the coolest thing, the Shadow Priest just goes like that. And just with a wave of his hand, just touches like the soul stream and like infects it. What I'm guessing, he infects it like with a virus or something, and the soul like turns red and it hurts Shang Tsung. He's like, ah, and it like knocks him out, you know, like, and then the Shadow Priest kills him. I'm like, that's amazing, because like this show has always shown one of the scariest things is that Shang Tsung can just take your soul, and the only person that was able to get out of it was really Kung Lao. He had a vision, and he kind of just kicked his way out of it. He got lucky, you know what I mean? But, you know, if you think about this show, like, if you think about, like, okay, Shang Tsung's stealing your soul, you're mortal, yeah, you're a great fighter, but you have no course against that sort of shit. You have no course against sorcery. You'd have to be a sorcerer yourself to be able to stop sorcery. You know what I mean? So that's what's really cool about this, is that Shang Tsung tried to steal the soul of another sorcerer who I'm guessing is infinitely, his knowledge is infinitely through the roof. I'd say a Shadow Priest has a lot more powers than Shang Tsung, you know, and then, yeah, he just counteracts it and just infects this soul stream and knocks out Shang Tsung. That's cool. I really, really like that about this episode.
Just one.
Then we go back to Raiden and excuse me. Then we go back to Raiden and Sharkon, and we get this great line where Sharkon goes, "What if I was to step through that portal?" And Raiden's like, "The Elder Gods would destroy you." Would they? Maybe that's just all talk to keep me out of Earthrealm.
What if I step through that portal right now?
The Elder Gods would destroy you.
You're sure? The decree was only that I could take Earthrealm. I had to fight for it.
In mortal combat.
Maybe that too is merely a futile attempt to keep me out.
No, that's not true. It's the law of the gods.
You know, and this is great because this is something that they also did in Mortal Kombat 9, the game. This is what Sharkon did. He stepped through the portal. He just invaded Earth. Nah, it's all rubbish, you know? And then, so that they're having their argument, you know, Sharkon's threatening to step through the portal, you know, and then we cut back to Taja, and they've gone to the hidden city, and it's been sealed. Raiden said he sealed it, I think. Ami just used her powers to blow open the rocks and make a doorway, so then they all walked in, and Ami just said, "I've done what I can do now, you guys go ahead." And she walks off, and then you see Shadow Priest following her, so we presume Amijus is dead as well. So then our good guys show up at the village. Those people are still there. Shaka, the hidden village. They're praying. They walk in. They go right up to the portal, and then we hear from Sharkon. Tells Raiden, "Do you preach to the mortals the same thing that I preach to my people? Know your enemy. Exploit their weaknesses." You know? He says, "What have you done?" "Yes, you gave me the time, Raiden." You know? And then Raiden realizes it's a trap, and he yells through the portal, "Kung Lao, stay back, it's a trap, they're gonna kill you," you know? And then we get the worst part of this episode. And that's what's sad. Up till now, everything's been pretty decent with the Shadow Priests taking out Quan Chi, Shang Tsung, 4-packs, Reptile, everything's been good, but our main 3 characters, this is their time to shine, and basically the Shadow Priests just and this is what I was talking about, where the Shadow Priests look really lame. They just jump up in the air and we see like quick flashes like Kung Lao's face, Taj's face, and Suro's face, and that's it.
Stay back! They're going to kill you!
That's them getting killed. These are our 3 main characters. We don't get a fight scene with Kung Lao. We don't get anything. We don't, you know, even Siro, like that Daniel Bernhardt, he can fight. You know, we get nothing. We just get this like, and it's over. And that's what's terrible about this episode. Awful. You know. And that's why I talk about Conquest being inconsistent, up and down, you know. It's a real shame. Then we get the best fight of the episode, which we're going to watch now, which is Sharkon versus Raiden. And they have their big fight, their big moment. You know, they're pulling out their weapons, and this is where I should let you guys know that Sharkon, if you didn't already know, is played by Jeff Meek, and Raiden is also played by Jeff Meek. So he's actually fighting himself. I mean, in this fight scene, he might be fighting, you know, a stand-in, but both actors, all the talking, all the dialogue, is Jeff Meek. And they have their fight scene, and they're going right at it. You know, Sharkon pulls out his hammer, Raiden pulls out his weapon, and it's great. It's a great scene.
They're dead, Raiden.
Raiden seems to get the upper hand in the fight. He has Sharkon on the ground, and he's like, "Go back to Outworld!" And he looks like he tries to do something, some electricity, and you just hear this zzz, 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 and Sharkon's just on the ground laughing, "You're Outworld!" And that was his whole thing. Was Raiden thought he was on neutral ground. Sorry, Sharkon thought he was on neutral. Raiden thought he was on neutral ground. Sharkon was exploiting that. He knew that if he was able to trap Raiden somewhere in Outworld, Raiden would lose his powers. And that's what all the talking in this episode was about. It was about getting the time for Raiden's powers to diminish. I don't know how he figured out how long it had to be, but, you know, that's what he did. And Raiden probably thought he wasn't in Outworld. He tricked him. Thought he was on some sort of neutral ground. The whole time he was just in Outworld. And he lost his powers. So then, Khan strikes. You know? And that's where he gets Raiden. This is where Shao wins.
Go back to our world. You're already in our world. You gave me the time, Raiden. Time to transport you and your friends, an entire city. You are now in my realm.
Then we go back to Outworld. Sharkon's looking all happy. Let's see what little gifts we have. You know, and he opens this treasure chest, and we go through this beautiful little montage about, you know, a daughter, dead. An assassin, dead. A queen, dead. 2 sorcerers, dead. A bodyguard, dead. A thief, dead. A champion, dead. You will bow to me. And that's when the 2 guards holding Raiden like force him to his knees, you know.
Let's see what little gifts we have for our guest. A traitor. Dead. 2 sorcerers. Dead. A queen. Dead. A daughter. Dead. A bodyguard. Dead. A thief. Dead. A champion. Dead. You will bow to me.
And yeah, this is pretty much where the episode winds up. We see a shot of Earthrealm. There's no one around. We got this like haunting wind blowing through, dust blowing through the trading post. The doors are open. There's no one around because everyone's dead, you know. And the camera sort of goes in. It goes in the front door, and we see that medallion that I mentioned earlier that Kung Lao got for winning Mortal Kombat. And we get this this bell, this and the medallion starts glowing and lights up with the Mortal Kombat, like the Mortal Kombat logo starts to glow on the medallion. And I always think that maybe that's the symbol that there needs to be maybe that's the symbol of a Mortal Kombat tournament impending or coming up. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a call. I don't know. Like, it's hard to explain what the medallion glowing could mean. Like, for me, that's what it means. I think it means like the Elder Gods have said that there's going to be a Mortal Kombat tournament or something's going to happen. But, you know, pretty much Khan's cheated. He's killed Earthrealm's champion, and he's broken the laws of Mortal Kombat. You know, also Kung Lao's, you know, he doesn't age until the next tournament, so he can be at his same peak physical performance at the next tournament. He doesn't age a day. That's why if you continue to win Mortal Kombats, you never age, whereas, you know, all your friends around you will die. You know, so it's a really interesting story that way. You know, and this is how the episode ended. Fucking so. That scene, that last scene, has a lot of power in it. Like, I'm like, oh my god, I remember seeing that going, fuck, what happens next? You know what happens next? They cancel the fucking show, that's it. That's the end of the show. Oh god. Oh man, I was so sad when they cancelled Conquest. I really enjoyed watching it. Like, as hammy and as campy and as kind of lame, sometimes it's lame as, but it was great. I had something to watch every week, something to look forward to, a new Mortal Kombat TV show. And they did well with the characters. They did. They had Reptile in there, that Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Rain, Rico, Shang Tsung, Quan Chi. The characters look fucking awesome. You know, you can say whatever you want about this show, but when I see Quan Chi, I'm like, that looks like Quan Chi. When I see Reptile, that looks like Reptile. When I see Sub-Zero, fuck yeah, that's Sub-Zero. I love that shot where he's standing up looking down on the trading post. You know, that third episode, the Sub-Zero one, the Lin Kuei, was fucking awesome. It had the logo in the background, the Grandmasters. They did, all the costumes were done really well. You know, and, you know, which is more I can say for that fucking Legacy. Remember that Sub-Zero in Legacy looked like a fucking, it was wearing BMX armor. He didn't even look like Sub-Zero, you know. I hate that shit, you know. You see these new versions of Mortal Kombat, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, when I first saw like Mortal Kombat Rebirth, Kevin Tancharoen, I loved the gritty style of it. You know, but the more you think about it, the characters didn't look like Mortal Kombat characters. But I wanted to see Rebirth made as a movie. That would have been really cool, but instead they made it into a show. And then, you know, we got the first season and the second season, and it didn't finish. You know, it was just a big fucking waste. They should have just done a movie or done a whole season, put it on TV. Instead of doing digital, that was crap. I think that's what really hurt it, even though it did really well online. Of course it got shitloads of views online. You know, they did all sorts of weird shit. Like, I remember, like, they released a Johnny Cage episode, and all the swearing was like, beep, 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 beep. It was all fucking censored. I'm like, fuck off. What? You can't release an episode like this and beep the hell out of it. Then they released it later without all the beeping. You know, it was so annoying to watch that shit. With beep, 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 beep. Felt like I was watching fucking the news or something. You know, no, this was what we watched. We watched Mortal Kombat. It's a fairly adult concept. You know, don't beep the swearing. You know, but they did all this rubbish with Legacy, you know, and it really hurt it. So when I think back to the times when we had, you know, Defenders of the Realm, Mortal Kombat Conquest, those shows weren't the best, but at least they were decent. And they wrapped up, and they were self-contained, you know? Whereas, like, the new stuff is not. So, yeah, that's it for Mortal Kombat Conquest. I want to talk a bit more about the show. In another video, which I'm going to release at a later date. But basically, one thing I will say is what was going to happen, there was going to be a season 2, And what was going to happen was these last 2 episodes were supposed to be one of Kung Lao's visions. And as you can remember, Kung Lao was having visions in the last episode. That's how it ended, with the candle blowing out and that. This was supposed to be, so Sharkon winning and everyone dying was supposed to be another vision. It even looks like Kung Lao's visions, you know, when you see all of the sky's funny colours and that. So it actually really heavily looks like it. So they weren't going to be dead. They were going to come back and do another season, you know, and they were going to explain why Kung Lao was having all these visions. And I'm assuming it was because Kung Lao's character got a lot darker towards the end of the show, you know, like, you know, he has that line, maybe it's time to say to hell with the rules and all that, and they're all for killing people in the end because they keep getting ganged up on. You can't blame them, you know, and I think they were going to explain that in the show, if you keep thinking like that, you're going to cause these visions and fear, and, you know, and that's how you get them, you know. But sadly, we never got a second season of Mortal Kombat. Some of the things I've seen on eBay, I've seen Sharkon's sword and shield was sold on eBay. The one that you had to kiss and swear. I've got it saved, the picture of it saved somewhere. But, you know, I used to see little props here and there go on eBay, you know, but you never know if they're real or not. And, excuse me, and you pay a lot, you know, but it would have been really cool to have Sharkon's sword, I'll be honest, you know. Another thing I got to say, you know, as... you know, sometimes this show was kind of bad with the acting, like, especially Jen. But you know what? Jeff Meek as Raiden, so good in this show. So good. Everyone says it. Everyone who's watched Mortal Kombat Conquest loves Jeff Meek, because he played Raiden perfectly. He was serious at times, he was horny at times, most of the time he was very sarcastic. You know, but the sarcasm had a point to it. You know, like, I always think of that episode, I forget which one it was, where Kung Lao says, you know, maybe I should just quit, you know. If I die, you just replace me anyway. And then Raiden's like, are you hearing this? If I die, Earthrealm is lost. You know, what a shitty life, you know. Get over it and get on with it, you know. And he has that other line, that's a great idea. Let's quit. I quit. You quit. Earthrealm, you're on your own. You know? Maybe you should try harder. You know, he had such great dialogue, such great lines. I don't think Raiden ever delivered a line that sounded corny or hammy or badly written. You know, just, he was such a linchpin of the show. He really was. Raiden was the linchpin of the show. He was. Even though Kung Lao was our main, and you know, and we had Sura and Taja, and we had the bad guys. We had the good guy and the bad guy camp, and we had our recurring characters. But really, Raiden was the linchpin. He was. Sharkon, when Jeff Meek played Sharkon, he played him so great. He played him so evil. That laugh when he got mad. You know, you will bow to me. You know, he did it all right. You know, and that costume looked so great. And as I mentioned earlier, the costumes were just so on point. Even Shang Tsung, who he probably had the most dramatic change. He just really had the black, you know, because in the games he has robes and stuff. It probably wouldn't have looked good in the show, you know. And it was cool that they gave him that. That's acceptable for me. I actually passed that, you know. Whereas Sub-Zero, he wears blue. You can't, like in Legacy, you can't give him a motocross outfit. That's just stupidity. You know, we're expecting Sub-Zero. He's just got to have blue. Just got to have that cloth. That's it. You know, so some of the funny things, you can read a lot about Conquest on Wikipedia and stuff. You know, there was all sorts of like budget problems with the show. Like, what they do is, if you ever watch Conquest and you look in the background, you'll see there's a lot of girls just walking around in the background, especially in the Zoos In scenes where it's the markets. And it's pretty much just girls in underwear walking around. I'm not joking. They're just wearing panties and a bra, and they're walking around. Sometimes they'll have something wrapped around themselves, or some necklace or some shit, you know. But this is how fucked up the budget cuts on Conquest were. They were told they had to bring their own bras. They weren't going to provide them. You know, bring your own underwear, BYO underwear, you know, for your scene in the show. You know, so... oh, God, you know. I don't know how, though, because I've read that this show did really well. It had great ratings. So I don't understand how the budget could be so fucked. I don't get that. I really don't. Mortal Kombat's big in the States. I know it would have had a lot of people watching it. As bad as Conquest was, you know, like, and when I say bad, bad campy, you know, for me, bad campy. There's bad and there's bad campy, you know. I don't understand how there wasn't another season. So yeah, that's it for this review. Thanks for your patience. I hope you enjoyed it, and I may or may not do that follow-up video. I've pretty much said everything I wanted to say kind of at the end here anyway. So, but if I feel the need to, I may do another Conquest video in the future, just, you know, wrapping up things. But for now, I have a surprise for you guys. A long time ago, there was Paulo Montalban, who played Kung Lao in the show, had a website up, and I came across it, and he had all these behind the scenes photos of Mortal Kombat Conquest, like a lot of the guest characters, him with the guest characters, you know, him with, like, you know, Kristana Loken when she had the old makeup on, and, you know, him with Raiden, and a whole lot of photos. But the only thing was, because this was a while ago, the photos aren't the best quality. They're kind of low quality. I recently sent a message to him on Facebook, or his page, but I got no reply, so I'm just going to put these here. If I get something better in the future, I'll release it. But for now, enjoy these screenshots from Paulo's website.
In each of us, there burns a soul of a warrior. In every generation, a few are chosen to prove it. Centuries ago, in a time of darkness and fury, that fate befell three strangers: a monk, Kung Lao, an exiled guard, Zero, and a thief, Taja, who have to defend our Earthrealm from the forces of Outworld. By fighting for their lives, by fighting for their honor,
your soul is mine.
and by fighting for their realm.
It's the burden you must carry.
In a tournament called Mortal Kombat.
And if any of the cast of Mortal Kombat Conquest are watching, thanks for a fun show, you know, and that's what it was. It was a fun show. Even though it was bad at times, people like me, Mortal Kombat fans, we really enjoyed it. You know, it had, you know, the characters did what they were supposed to do. They weren't really changed around that much, even though they couldn't have, you know, they couldn't have the new characters. And it was great sitting at 500 years in the past. They were still able to have the majority of Mortal Kombat characters in it. And they came up with 3 lead characters who we got to know and learn and they were interesting. Yeah, Siro was honourable and noble, good fighter. You know, Taja was a thief on the run, and she finally joined the team and decided to, you know, be with something worth fighting for, sort of thing. And Kung Lao, you know, who's our champion. You know, so it was a great show. It was a lot of fun. So if any of the actors are watching, or production people, or anyone who worked on the show, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for a fun show, because that's all a TV show really needs to be. A lot of fun and enjoyable. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another YouTube video. Peace.